welcome to another episode of Inside Zoodealio, where I take you behind the scenes and we reveal the brilliance behind the software. So I'm excited about today's episode. I am here with Noah Neighbors. He is Zoodealio employee number 1. And we go way back. You are now head of product at Zoodealio. So Noah, I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name is Noah. I'm the head of product at Zoodealio, as Kayla mentioned. Basically what that means is I manage a lot of our development team, software side of things, support, and have my hand in quite a few other buckets I'm sure we'll talk about later. And I was involved prior to Zoodealio as well, which I'm sure we'll have some fun conversations about as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. In fact, when I introduced you, I thought to myself, oh my goodness, there are so many hats that you wear. Noah is brilliant and excels at anything he puts his mind to. Why don't you kind of walk us through some of the different things and roles that you do here at Zoodealio?
Yeah, so kind of mix of everything. So as I mentioned, I help manage a lot of the software side of things. So working with our project manager and development team, of course, Kayla and the executive team to kind of make sure that the software is going the direction that we want it to go as a company. And then I also work a lot with our partners. So a lot of our enterprise level partners, our larger brokerages. I work very closely with our client success team and support team to make sure that everything's working as intended on their side of things, and to make sure that the directions we're taking going forward are really going to best serve our agent community. So I play a big role in that as well. I'm also one of the main people that get sent out to events. So Tom Ferry and things like Inman, any sort of events that Zoodealio might be going to. If you ever visit any of those events and see Zoodealio there, it's likely you might see me walking around or at our booth. So those are some of the main things that I play a part of. And then I'm also kind of as Kai mentioned on the last one, if you guys had watched that, she mentioned, paper plates and things like that. I'm kind of the tech version of that as the office. So the Wi-Fi went out or we need new phones or whatever the case might be. I'm normally the one that jumps on that.
Yes, you do all things. And I think that kind of goes back to employee number 1. Because when it was just you did everything. And so I want to go back a little bit to the journey, because we've worked together now for
6 years, I think.
I think so. Yeah. I'm going 1, 2, 3.
It's been a while.
Counting. And it's funny too, because I was pulling up my camera roll and I just searched Noah in my photos. And for instance, look at this one.
Yeah, that is, this is maybe 18, maybe 19.
2019. It was National Programmers Day, and this is when we were off Irvana, and we posted you on our IG. A lot of fun stories. So let's go back. Let's go back to how it all started.
Oh, all right. So how it all started initially, I think the first time I was ever involved with Kayla and the team was when I was 17 and in high school. I interned here for app development. So they were working on an app, and I was coming in after school in between my other job to work on that app. And I did that for a couple months, and then I ended up graduating high school shortly after that and doing some continued education centered around software. And, about 4 months after I finished that, I had been doing, 2 other internships, and Jason actually gave me a call. I think I'd stopped by the office at some point while I was kind of in my courses still, just to kind of check in and talk to everyone. And a couple months after that, Jason had called me and basically pitched the idea of what ended up becoming Offervana. And funny story, some of you may have heard this before, I kind of told Jason no. I wasn't confident that I'd be able to do it, especially on my own. And he said, well, you know what, why don't you just come to the office and we'll talk about it and we'll see. And I was like, okay. And so I came to the office, I think, the next day, and they sat down and, we're going all mad scientists on the TV, like, this is what we want to do and everything else. And I think I showed up to the office to start working the next day. So
I think so. And that was probably full court press. It was probably Jason and me and Elliot and Keith. And
Yep.
We were probably all, sharing the vision of how we're going to build this $1 billion company. And
yeah, it was intense.
It was fun though.
It was fun. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
So fun. I can remember those days. It feels like forever ago. But yeah, you did. I think you showed up the very next day and started building. And on your own, built
Yes.
out the entire Offervana application.
Yeah, that was a journey.
Yes, it was. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Sure. So a lot of ups and downs with that. I mean, I remember there would be points where they'd ask, whether it's Kayla, Jason, Elliot, whoever it might be, ask for something to be done for Avarvana, and I'd be saying like, I have no idea how to do that, and I would just have to figure it out, right? And I learned a lot doing that. I mean, we worked on Avarvana for well over a year, and then there's a transitionary period into Zoodealio, and kind of throughout that whole period, it was basically anytime something happened, I had no idea how to do it, and I had to figure it out, and I learned again a lot from that whole process. One of the biggest things I learned a lot about was real estate. So I'm 23. When I first started working here was initially for Avarvana. It was like 7 days after my 18th birthday. Had never been a part of a real estate transaction, nothing, no idea what was going on. And I had to learn the whole world while kind of building out Avarvana. And so I really took the fast track from there. You had to go from not knowing how a house was even sold to building a dashboard where people could look at offers to sell their home. So kind of a big step there, even if we step away from, the programming side of things.
Yeah, it's impressive. And you're one of those people, though, that a lot about everything. And so I'm curious, I'm sure that the answer is probably Google and YouTube, but how do you learn so much about so many different things?
Google and YouTube.
Yeah, okay.
That's pretty much it. So I've really gotten into the habit, and this was one of the big things that was kind of the focus of a lot of the, educational courses I did after high school. A lot of the focus was how to learn new things quickly instead of learning a specific thing. Because I didn't go to college. I just did like a 13-week course with a college that was kind of centered around specifically web development in a very specific area. And a big piece of that, again, was focusing on how to kind of learn new technologies and do that quickly. It's almost like learning languages and training to be like a polyglot, for example, because although they were teaching us this very hyper-specific tech stack to go work at companies, that tech stack could have been irrelevant in your job market by the time you were ready to be hired. And so they took a lot of time kind of training you on how to kind of switch that and learn a new technology. And that's something you have to do pretty consistently in tech just in general, even if you aren't changing tech stacks. I mean, you have, we call them libraries and all sorts of things that are coming out, frameworks. But even just from a, higher end level, you have things like AI happening now, and that's been happening for a couple years now. And if you're not always staying in tune with that in the industry, you fall behind. And so it is one of the industries you have to stay kind of very in tune for, similar to real estate, or you do just kind of fall behind. And coming in later on in life, or in years, I guess, in the current century, and growing up with Google and with internet, you grow up cheating on your homework and Googling everything. And if you can get good at it, you save yourself a lot of time. So sometimes I don't actually ever know things, and someone asks me something and I just look it up, and then they think I know it, but Google knew it, not me.
I love it. Well, you also have a really good knack for making the complex simple. And I know that's a sign of very high intelligence. And you've also worked with children and teaching them how to code and program. So how did you learn how to distill complex information simply?
I'd say probably from my dad. My dad, early on in my life, got me into robotics and all sorts of things, engineering, a lot of hands-on like building things. He started and co-founded a nonprofit called Gangplank here in Arizona, and it was basically a tech co-working space that was free for anyone to use. So I spent a lot of time growing up, anytime I was with my dad at work, was basically around a bunch of tech entrepreneurs trying to start companies out of, this basically free incubator of sorts, right? And so I spent a lot of time there. My dad and, some of the other people there started something that they called Gangplank Junior for all of their kids, where they basically they didn't think after school programs were doing enough like cool, dangerous stuff. And that's kind of what they had us doing. So that's how I learned very early on to do a lot of that, was through my dad and his friends and their kids.
Well, that's so cool. Thank you, Noah's dad. You've done a great job in preparing Noah to be who Noah is today. No, so, yeah, we invited you on this crazy ride. We're like, let's do this. And you're like, all right. First you're like, no. And then you're like, yeah, I can do it. And there was actually a point where between Avarvana and Zoodealio, when, for those of you that heard the story, there was that transitionary period. Mm-hmm. And and you left us.
I did.
You left us for a few months. Tell us about that.
Sure. So, it was kind of an interesting point in my life where it felt like Offervana was coming to a close, right? Quite literally, it was coming to a close.
It did, yeah.
And at that time, I had gotten with you guys, and you guys had mapped out the vision for, the initial pieces of Zoodealio. Obviously, it's changed a lot since then, but what the initial pieces were. And that was the, previously with Offervana, I said, hey, guys, I can't do this. But when it came to Zoodealio, that's when it was really like, hey, the vision for Zoodealio is bigger than one person. Like, you guys need more people on the team. And of course, we went ahead and did that, and that whole process started, and I was around for, the initial pieces of that, helping, find who those people might be, and, along that initial journey. And it kind of felt like once that transition had happened and we had new people on board working on it, it was almost like, what do I do now? Right. And I hadn't taken the transition into what that would look like. And, I was starting to feel like, man, I need something else to work on, to build, to do every day. And that's kind of what had happened there. I ended up working at a new job, and I hated it. And I left after, I think, not even 4 months. And I was back here before like half a year. So very small transition period.
It was short-lived. And I'm glad you hated it because, obviously we're so glad to have you on the team. I can't even imagine this without you. You're just that integral to everything that we do here. So, like, watching it grow, obviously, when we started, it was an idea, and then we assembled the team, and then developed it out, and then customer number one, and then to where we are now, kind of like the totality of everything. What are the moments that you look back on and enjoy?
So a lot of the moments I look back and enjoy were actually like terrible moments in the second, right?
Yeah.
You look back at them fondly later on. I remember there was, I think we'd been out for maybe 4 months, and we spent weeks promoting this event here at our office to have a bunch of agents come in. It was actually right in this area, right next to the podcast room. And there's probably 40 agents in this room. And I remember Kayla, Jason, Keith, Elliot had, hey, why don't we have Noah show them how to sign up? I had never spoken in front of more than like 4 people. When I first started working here, I could barely get up and present in front of these 4, let alone in front of 40 random agents. And so that was terrifying experience for me. And then to make it even worse, something broke while I was giving the presentation, and I was like having to walk out and try to fix it, and it was a nightmare. But it was probably one of the best experiences in my life, because now when I get up in front and talk in front of people, I'm like, it can't be worse than that. So that's one of the fond moments. And then it's always crazy going to these in-person events and meeting people. So I remember the first time we went to, I think it was Tom Ferry, and you just have agents walk up and they just say your name. You're like, I don't know who this person is. But I had spoken to them on the phone over a year ago and helped them, with some issue. And they've been using Zoodealio ever since. And they know every member on the team and everything else. And it's kind of crazy when that happens.
Well, and then also you're like, all of the original tutorial videos are you.
Yep.
Some of those have been updated and replaced, but I think our demo video, I believe, is still you. So a lot of people probably recognize you.
Yeah.
From
maybe
watching.
Not now with the hair.
Yeah. Okay. So that's kind of like an important topic. Let's get to it. So over the years, in fact, I have a video here of you explaining how you did a machine learning algorithm for us on Days on Market. I'm trying to find it. It was pretty interesting. And I was watching it and kind of like laughing because here it is.
Realtor.com. I downloaded the full zip data for the country, parsed it down to Arizona, and then I plugged it into my student grade comparison thing.
Okay, so like early on, I did a lot of social media as we were building the companies, and I think as we've become busier, I haven't, which is kind of sad because I love looking back on this stuff. But your hair, very short,
yes,
very short.
It was very short for a long time.
And then now we've got like long hair going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
my hair is a roller coaster. So yeah, back when we first started, I always had super, super short hair. And then I remember like before COVID, I had just not gotten a haircut for whatever reason. And then COVID happened, and I had super long hair for a long time. And then I randomly decided to shave my head, and I shaved my whole head. And then I let it grow out a little bit again, and then I had a normal haircut. And then I just let it grow randomly, and it's been growing ever since. And I don't even know how long it's been, but it's been a while.
Oh, I think that before the first Inman that we went to, the one that was like right after COVID, where you drove the truck.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, you drove the truck to Las Vegas. We could talk about that too. But I think that before that, Jason told you to get a haircut.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I think so. I remember that. He's like, no, get a haircut.
It's been a couple times. Once you get past the awkward phase of it, then
it's good to go.
It's not as bad. But yeah, the like halfway through it is a little rough, especially if you don't keep it cleaned up. So if you're growing your hair, make sure to keep it cleaned up.
Some good life advice. Noah, all right. So I want to know, there's some questions that I'm kind of like asking everybody that we interview. Do you have a life philosophy or something that guides you in your life?
Not really that I can think of.
No.
There's nothing that I can. Not really.
Okay.
I kind of just do day by day. I don't know.
Do you?
Maybe that's a philosophy in itself. I don't know. But
that's interesting. Deep.
Yeah, super deep. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really think about. There hasn't been any like major life events or anything that's had me sit down and be like, okay, I need to change something or I need to adjust. It's kind of just, day by day, and things work out pretty well. So don't stress out too much about, what's happening all the time. But yeah, no real like specific philosophy, I don't think.
I mean, you have to be immensely proud of everything that you've accomplished here. What else are you really proud of?
That's a great question. I probably work too much because I can't think of anything. For me, it really, I really have a lot of enjoyment and fulfillment comes from working. And that's just kind of always how it's been. I started working really young. My first job was I was like 14.
Really? Where at?
So that was actually the robotics teaching. So I was a teacher's assistant with robotics and stop motion animation at these like, not summer camps, but school camps. They were over breaks or after school, things of that sort. So I did that for about a year or two. So yeah, I've always, I don't know, I always liked working. I get very bored when I don't work. So
me too.
Yeah, that's probably my biggest accomplishment. And I've done it twice. It's very hard. Was losing weight. So as a nerdy programmer kid growing up in middle school and high school, I was not healthy, and had a lot of extra weight. Got very into weightlifting in high school, and I lost a lot of the weight and was in pretty good shape. And then I got hurt, and I quit going to the gym, and basically repeated that same cycle. And now I'm at a point again where I've lost a lot of that weight again, and I feel great. So that's probably one of my biggest accomplishments was doing that again. It takes a lot of effort to do that. So
it does, but you're really consistent. So our office is right next to an EOS Fitness, and pretty much every day on your lunch, you go and you work out. What do you do?
So it depends, but right now I do like a 4x4 split. So I'll switch between, doing different parts, different workout areas on a daily basis. And then after I do my lifting, and I do a lot of calisthenics, which is like body weight workouts, like gymnastic stuff. And then I run a 5K. So
every day?
I try to.
Really?
Sometimes I don't do a full 5K, but yeah, I try to run. I didn't
know you did the 5K as well. And sometimes you'll come in and your like eyes are bloodshot because you were doing like handstands and crazy stuff.
Yep.
And we'll be like, whoa, Noah, what happened?
Yeah.
You're like, nothing.
Well, I don't even notice until I look in a mirror and I'm like, oh, whoa. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I love that you prioritize your health and your fitness. That's really neat. It's a good example.
Yeah, it feels great.
Yeah. So what are you most proud of that you've accomplished here at Zoodealio?
Ooh, that's a big question. Oh, man. Got to pick something from like a 5-year period.
I mean, there's like a lot of things, as I think about everything that you do. I know I have some things that come to my mind, but it's been really cool. As you're thinking about this, I'll kind of rattle off some things that I see. One of the things that has been cool for me to watch is you hire other developers, and not just in the US, but like across the world. And so we've got like language barriers, time zone barriers, and it's challenging.
It is.
And so it's been really cool to watch you do that. I think that's a huge accomplishment. And then some of the features that we've pushed and architecting out those features and then, seeing them through to completion, that's got to be really cool. But yeah, what do you think?
Definitely some of the features. I think, one of the ones that was really cool to see was when we rolled out the new offer dashboard and we got the automated offers kind of figured out. That was a very fulfilling piece to kind of get done. A lot of the algorithms that work behind the scene to make those happen took a lot of effort to put together. And so, that was pretty fulfilling. And then one of the ones you mentioned, not only hiring, but then, more so after someone's been onboarded on the team and kind of seeing their growth is always great to see as well. Having tasks that I used to be doing, 3-4 years ago when we first started, and now having, full-time employees doing that on a day-to-day basis, and, having them say, hey, we might need some help soon. And, it's just crazy. So it's really fulfilling to kind of see so many people enjoying something that you work on every single day. But I don't have, super, super specific standout things. There's always the crazy ones of when we onboard a new giant account or team, and, the amount of people just rushing in at once is just insane sometimes. And so that's always, great to see as well.
Yeah, for sure. It's like Venkat, he's our project manager. Venkat said to me once that Zoodealio is my baby too. And I feel like it's your baby too.
Yeah, it is.
And definitely my baby too, and Jason's and Elliot's and Keith's. And it's like we all share this. It's not even a baby anymore. It's like going to kindergarten.
Yeah, it's growing up.
It's growing up.
Yeah.
But we all are passionate and love what we're creating. It's really cool. Startups are fun, yeah?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work too, but
yes,
it's a lot of fun.
It is. It's a lot of work. Okay, let's go to the dark side for a minute. What are some of the dark sides of startups?
Sure. So, like I said, there's a lot of work, and there's a lot of tasks that might get thrown on you very randomly. So if you're thinking about, if you're working at a large company with 300 employees, if one of those people isn't there for a week, not so big of a deal. When there's 8 of you, it's a much bigger deal. Similarly, you might have great growth periods, and again, it's very hard to kind of tail those growth periods when you're, you are a smaller company, and, startup situations, you may not have readily available, large amounts of capital to, funnel growth, for example. So you may have a situation where you triple, quadruple, 8x your user base, which a large company would almost never see that because they're already at kind of a stable user base. But for startups, it's very common. You go from, 50 people to 1,000. That's a massive increase. And, it's very hard to keep up with, hiring and training people. So sometimes you are just completely overwhelmed with the amount of work that might, be on your plate. But that's also kind of what makes it fun. And, you do have to learn a lot of things. And I think sometimes that can be very overwhelming. And that's something for me personally that working out helps with a lot. It's like a little break. That's why I do it at lunch. Sometimes you come in and there's just so much going on in the morning, especially, we have international team members, time zone barriers. Sometimes I'm working on things starting at, 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, meetings, come in and everything's super overwhelming. And then I have that little break, right? And then I can come in kind of like a second win for the rest of the day. So definitely the biggest dark side would be just the stress that can be involved with it, but it's also very rewarding. So, high risk, high reward, high stress, big payout.
Okay, let's talk about what's the dark side of having 4 co-founders. I gotta go there. That's a great question. Because, you're employee number 1. Yep. So you've worked with us for the entire time. Mm-hmm. And anytime I am interviewing or hiring a new employee, I'm always asking myself, how is this person going to respond essentially to having 4 bosses?
Yeah.
And I know it's changing now as it's kind of getting segmented, but there are 4 of us. Yeah. And you manage the relations well. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so a lot of it is just getting to know you guys as people over a long period of time. It's not just work, Halloween parties. We've gone multiple trips together. Gone to Keith's birthday before. We went to a concert together, all sorts of stuff. So a lot of time spent outside of the office as well, getting to know you guys as people helps a lot, getting to know, the personalities and how you guys might react to certain things. The hardest part by far is the balancing act where, from a systematic level, it's all equal, right? But, when you guys are clashing, and then you have on an idea or, what we want to do next or whatever the case might be. And then, someone comes to me privately and says, oh, we need to do this. And then I have to be the one to say, I can't listen to you because I have to verify it with 3 other people first, So that's always the hard part is kind of, when you are working for someone and you basically have to tell them, well, I actually have to check with your partner before I can do that, because you can't necessarily force that without checking with everyone else. And having there was a long period of time where that was a very big problem because I wouldn't do that. Mm-hmm. And so, what would end up happening is not necessarily on purpose. It's not like someone is trying to sneak behind someone else's back and do something, but there was just miscommunication between the team and someone didn't mention something and asked me to build something. And now, I'm a week into developing something and, Jason says, hey, what are you working on? And I show him everything. I'm super excited. He's like, why are you doing that? And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. So that was a thing early on. So yeah, it's just all about communication and the balancing act and kind of the not really checks and balances, but checks and balances, making sure that everyone's on the same page and, always verifying, that really from a company standpoint, what the direction is instead of it being on a specific founder's, this is what we want to do. Mm-hmm,
mm-hmm. I've laughed several times during your explanation because I know exactly what you're referring to. I see that. And it is a delicate balance. But you walk that tightrope really well. Very well. That. Yeah, you do. So I have some rapid fire questions for you. But before I get to those, I want to ask what's the future hold for you?
Ooh, that's a question. So, here at Zoodealio, we're growing the team pretty rapidly. So, as that team grows, it's been an interesting development for me going from, day to day being working on the code pretty much all the time in meetings to now I'm in almost an entirely, managerial position almost. And I think as we add on more and more team members, it's going to keep shifting that way. So for me right now, it's a lot of growth about learning how to be a better leader and be better at different aspects of my job that are becoming, more and more of my day to day. And so that's really a big focus for me right now, especially in the next couple years. And then, personal life goals, looking to buy a house soon, a couple other things, but yeah, that's mainly it.
I love it. Good things happening for you, Noah. I know that. Okay, I have some rapid fire questions for you. So, what is your desk snack of choice?
Easy. Peanut butter filled pretzels by far. Yeah, it's not even close.
I knew it. Yeah. I totally knew that one. Okay. Share a moment that you were really proud of here at Zoodealio.
Oh man. We kind of did this before, but
yeah, we kind of did. Actually.
Yeah, we kind of did. I'll share a specific moment. I remember this was a fun one. I had gotten with Fabian, who does a lot of our support, and we had released the widget, which is like a little code snippet that agents can put on their landing pages and interact with, Zoodealio in a kind of a different way. And it involves doing a little bit of coding, and we were having a lot of questions about it, and I was having to do, a lot of work with agents to kind of get it figured out. And I kind of pulled Fabian aside, and I worked with him for about 2 weeks to kind of teach him some basics on coding. And I remember just coming in one day and him being like, hey, I put this widget together. Like, what do you think? Is it good? And I was just like, this is great. This is so good. He figured it out. He's got it. And
it's amazing.
Ever since then, he's been doing all of those for agents. So that was like a super exciting moment, just seeing that development.
Yes, we love Fabian. And you hired Fabian.
I did.
And you trained him. And so all of that. So cool moment. Okay. This is the wild card work day. If you could switch places with anybody at Zoodealio for a day, who would it be?
Jason.
Oh.
Yeah.
Jason. Care to explain?
Yeah, so the main reason is Jason does, I think, the only thing here that I've never done before, which is managing a lot of the construction and, a lot of the offer side of things, the offers department. I've dealt a lot with, what Keith and Tushar and all of them do just because I've helped a lot with the spreadsheets and algorithms they use. So I've seen a lot of what they do on the day-to-day, been a lot of their meetings. But Jason and a lot of what Kyan and Kai are doing, no idea. And so I just want to see what a day at their desk looks like.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, and then here is the hidden gem question. What's a book, a movie, a TV show that you love that everybody needs to know about?
I mean, most people already know about it. Atomic Habits is probably one of my favorite books. Yeah, changed my life a lot. So
it is a great book. Any specific nugget out of that book that you want to share?
Not a specific nugget, but just taking things, on the atomic level, right? Doing something starting off very, very slow. That's how I got back into the gym. I started with just doing like 10 push-ups a day in my room. And then I started just showing up to the gym, even if I didn't want to. And it just spiraled from there. So I just pushed myself to do things I don't want to do, very small amounts. And, you know, it made a very large impact on my life. So
Love it. I think of the quote, incremental moves creates monumental results.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that happens here at the office too. So
Yeah, it does. Okay. And then what's your favorite place or thing to do to recharge?
Weirdly enough, the gym. Most people think of that as tiring, but again, that's like my second win during the day. And then I play a lot of video games. That's the main thing I do for fun. So
What's your favorite game?
oh man.
Can't pick just one.
Yeah.
Okay,
probably not.
what games do you enjoy?
I play a lot. So I play a lot of older games, which is weird. I play a lot of strategy and like card games. So I play a lot of a game called World of Warcraft. And then I play a lot of card games, so like Magic the Gathering, things like that. Yeah.
Okay, I haven't heard of them.
Yeah. They're not as popular as like Call of Duty or something.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that suits you.
Yeah.
A little bit of an enigma around it. Well, hey, thank you so much
Yeah,
for
of course.
sharing, Noah. We just appreciate you so much, and this has been fun.
Yeah, it has been fun. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.